Hello, my name is Barry Hankin. I'm Chief of Environmental Modelling at JBA Consulting. I have undertaken a lot of whole system and whole catchment modelling to understand the resilience of catchments in the light of nature-based solutions. I'm here to talk about work on behalf of the Tweed Forum. Okay, so my talk is about undertaking more detailed and robust modelling of natural flood management features in a catchment in Scotland to try and support green finance. There's been a lot of studies where people have just used GIS or spatial analysis. What we are trying to do at JBA is undertake dynamic modelling of how floodwaters interact with features and genuinely are able to be stored and modelled such that they're attenuating flood wave. We've carried out the economics to look at the damages avoided and treated natural flood management like you would when you were appraising a defence scheme. I'm speaking on behalf of the Tweed Forum and thanks to my colleagues who've helped with the work. The Eddleston water catchment is in the Borders in Scotland, and it's recently achieved a UNESCO eco-hydrological demonstration site. And as you can see there, it's a part of the remeandering that's been undertaken out of a lot of measures that have been put in place. And this modelling is about trying to understand how other features in the catchment could be invested in, because obviously they require investment, and it's whether we can put a price on features that are going to be more effective or not. So we've got a catchment scale hydraulic model that was calibrated against some of the most detailed, highly instrumented site in Scotland and in fact in the UK. In a study catchment that's been developed by the Tweed Forum and Dundee University for a number of years. The particular study that we're focusing on now is the Facility for Investment Ready Nature Scotland, the FERNS programme of work, and it's been funded by Nature Scot and the Natural Lottery Heritage Fund. Eddleston Water, as I say, is one of the most instrumented catchments in Scotland, and we undertook a study in 2018 calibrating the detailed model of the whole system against the different measurements. So we did a multi-scale calibration that you can see on the right. This gives us confidence that we've got something that reasonably accurately reproduces the system at different scales. And we've taken that model and we've tried to understand where it would be better to store more water or slow it down or help it percolate through the soils better. And we are using the model to understand where might be better places to invest in green measures. We also want to understand to what degree the nature-based solutions can help mitigate against the effects of climate change. Climate change in Peebles in the Tweed catchment, so the Tweed itself is about 5,000 kilometres squared, and around about the area that we're interested in, the uplift factors published by SEPA are nearly a 60% uplift in peak flows by the year 2100. Now at the moment, the present day 30-year return period is about 17.5 cubic meters per second. With that increase, it sets it equal to the 200-year present day. In other words, the climate change probability shift by 2100 reduces the present day return period of 1 in 200 years to 1 in 30 years, although present day 100 years to 1 in 10 years. So you can imagine these bigger flood causing flows are going to happen much more frequently. Because catchments and hydrodynamics and hydrology is very complex, and the interactions and the synchronizations between different tributaries are complicated, we've placed the natural flood management features in zones, so we can switch them on and off and understand which ones in which place are being more effective. On the right, you can see that there's three types of NFM that we focused on. These have come out of the UKRI Natural Environment Research Council research over the last 5 years that suggests these types of measures. The three that we're looking at here are lateral flow deflectors like leaky barriers, but extending onto the floodplain and holding the water on floodplains longer. Floodplain storage enhancement, which is large, more bunded areas on the floodplain where we can promote water to stay there longer, so more room for the river. And then runoff attenuation features or large bunded areas which will have freeboard, so that during normal conditions there's some extra capacity and they can be a nature kind of pond during lower flow conditions. What do they look like? Well, runoff attenuation features look like the photos on the right. These are from different catchments around the UK, where essentially you've got that extra freeboard, but when there's a flood, you can store some more of the water and slow its progress down through the network. Lateral flow deflectors are really like leaky barriers, but extending onto floodplain. So the one on the top is one in Edelston Water. The one on the bottom is in the Holnaker Estate, a larger one, which is also used in combination with floodplain storage enhancement features. So this diverts water into those features. The flood storage enhancement features are where we're actually trying to store additional water on the floodplain. So on the bottom right, this is a photo from Edelston where there currently haven't been natural flood management operations, but where you can see in a recent flood or high flows condition, the paleo channel's been reflooded and the farmers' fields flood already. So the question is, will they be prepared to hold more water there? And would they be prepared to be paid for it, to hold it there, perhaps a bit longer than it would normally, but holding a greater volume for longer before releasing it? Now, as I say, we've done an awful lot of modelling. We've modelled the three types of NFM in the different zones, and we switched them on and off in the different zones. And then we've also done the kitchen sink scenario, we call it, where we've done all of the measures across all of the zones. These hydrographs show the change at different points down through the catchment, starting with Edelston partway down, then Netherkidson, and then at the bottom in Peebles, which is the main area of population. And you can see that at most, for some of the kind of most ambitious NFM scenarios where we've got some large floodplain storage enhancement, we're getting maybe 40% reduction in the peak, which is quite ambitious. You can see here, you won't be able to read all of these numbers, but these are the kind of peak flow reductions, and the blue means this is good, it's negative, and we're getting, as the severity of the storm goes from left to right in each table, you can see that there are some 40% up here when we do all of the NFM in all of the zones. And you can also see this phenomenon that's kind of good for NFM, in that as the storm severity gets higher and we get towards the 1,000 year, the NFM is still doing more. And I'll talk about that a bit more in later slides. We've also, the other tables are for the different zones and the different features. This is an animation of one of those floodplain storage enhancement features. On the right, we've got the NFM where we've built some bunds in the Hectoras 2D model to encourage water to stay there longer. And then we've gone and computed. So this is that extra water I was talking about, where the intention would be to pay people to use the land for that and host it. You can see where it is in the model. It's in this zone here, I think zone 2 and 3, and you can also see the kind of benefits we've computed. So we'll do more of this in further slides, but essentially we can get an expected annual benefit of about £9,000 per year. So that is quite a lot for just a few of the features in one of the zones. Before we get onto those economics, we computed the volume stored upstream. So you can do that just by looking at the integrating the volume. So here in the image on the bottom right, you can see before we had NFM and then after in part of the NFM that was put in place in Eddleston Water before. And you can compute the difference in the volume that's held there through an event and work out that maybe you've got a 6 or a 10% increase. So what we've done in the future potential floodplain storage enhancement is we've integrated the volume for the different storms. We looked at the percentage increase in the volume that's stored, and you can see that in some of the zones we can get quite a large increase. Of the dark blue, we're getting quite a large percentage increase. And this has told us quite a bit about where in the catchment it's more effective to place the NFM. So it's not just a question of saying, yes, I've got a field somewhere randomly within the catchment. It actually matters where you put it in, depending on the place and depending on the interaction between tributaries. So this analysis has helped us understand that placing it in zones 2 and 3, for instance, are the most effective. And that was upstream. So downstream, you can see the benefits in terms of the depths are reduced over the baseline in the area that's shaded red. The purple doesn't seem to change much, but within the red zone, there are properties. So the baseline shows greater depths there, so you're going to reduce the damages. How those damages vary with storm severity also is shown in these plots. So here we've got all the NFM and then the zoned NFM as we go down. So all of these combinations have been modelled. And as we go to the right in each table, you've got increasing severity of the storm. You can see that we've got this, we can see this phenomenon where we keep getting additional benefits. So we've got like 7%, 8%, and we get to the 200 year, we've got 12%. And we think that that is coming, that continued benefit with bigger and bigger flooding is coming from the kind of effect that our types of NFM are affording. So we're pushing water into expandable areas of storage. So you can see the blue for when we've got NFM and the green when we don't. So we think that that's where it's coming from. So hence, that's why we've been targeting particular types of natural flood management. And the other tables are for when we just look at lateral flow deflectors or a floodplain storage enhancement or runoff attenuation features. Sometimes we get disbenefits, they're negative. That could be when we, for instance, slow down a faster rising part of the hydrograph, which we might want to allow to pass through. So zone 1 was found actually a place where to avoid storing water in significant amounts. So the long term, so if we use the annual exceedance probabilities to weight the damages for the individual design events that we've modelled, the headline figure for the maximum scenario was £66,000 as an expected annual damages avoided or a benefit. So that's the area shaded in grey in the losses versus probability curve. And you can see that for different combinations, so if we have, all of the NFM in all of the zones, we're getting up to that. But some of the other zones, we get these disbenefits through time, which would be better avoided, and we could focus our effort and perhaps get more investment in zones 2 and zones 3 because they do more of the work. If we think about a scheme lifetime and this kind of things, NFM could be designed to last for say up to 100 years with the right maintenance and so on, then we've computed using a discounting rate and 100-year scheme lifetime about £2 million worth of benefits over that kind of length of scheme for the maximum amount. But we can also accrue quite strong benefits just from focusing in zone 2 and zone 3 alone. So it's not necessarily doing everything everywhere as being beneficial. So in summary, what we found is that if we invested in NFM everywhere in all zones, we might get up to £66,000 as an expected annual benefit. And we can also, from the analysis we've done, apportion that into residential and non-residential or commercial. So you can see that it might be attractive. Say there's a large supermarket downstream and it transpires that they're one of the ones flooding, then maybe they'd be open for investing in the green infrastructure behind this. So we can see that if we invest in zone 2 or zone 3, we can get considerable benefits, and sometimes we can actually get, if we sum those individually, we might get more than doing all the NFM in all zones, because we're getting some benefits for some of the NFM. So it's really quite a complex picture, and it's not as simple as just putting some storage on the map. So in summary, we've done a large matrix of scenarios, and we simulated those with 3 different types of natural flood management individually and all together. So it was a lot of modelling. For each of those, we've computed the damages using the standard Treasury Green book in the UK, using the multicoloured manual, and we've estimated the net present value over a scheme lifetime. And we've shown where NFM is going to be more effective in which zones and what type of NFM. We've considered how the hydrology is likely to change and how much of this the NFM could mitigate. We think that because the modelling and the instrumentation in the catchment, the monitoring is all kind of the most detailed that we've got anywhere in the UK, then this provides quite a strong evidence base for the kind of amount that NFM can achieve. We think because it's robust as well, it should give you quite strong evidence for this type of green measures. So the greatest long-term expected annual damages avoided or benefits was £66,000 over a 100-year scheme lifetime. That corresponded to about 2 million. We've already seen over a period of about 10 years the benefits that we modelled in the catchment prior to this investigation. We modelled before and after, and we are up at about 900,000 in terms of the very large amount of tree planting, lateral flow deflectors, storage, remeandering, and so on, and the large storage attenuation features have already given large amounts of benefit. So it does give you quite strong evidence, not only in what we're seeing here with our projections, but also with what's happened in the catchment in the past. A lot of the benefit can be attributed to a smaller area within the catchment. 2 zones seem to be doing most of the work. That might just be down to where we could see that we could put these floodplain storage enhancements, but it could also be to do with hydrology and the interactions between tributaries. So it's really quite a complex situation that needs a model. So the analysis has identified the type and spatial locations where it would be better. And if everything was done, then we might hope to mitigate up to about 2/3 of the increase with climate change that's expected in the catchment. And I'll end it there. Thank you.